Thank you. Thank you, Chairwoman Lee and Ranking Member Sewell. As you know, I've recently moved to the Heritage Foundation as a Senior Legal Fellow for Election Integrity, and the views expressed today are my own and should be reflected on the Heritage Foundation. But I really do appreciate the opportunity to talk about cybersecurity and the election security of the voting systems and the election systems that we use, election officials use. We want them to be able to concentrate on administering the election and not worried about the back-end security of those systems. And that's why I really appreciate the work that my colleagues to my right have done over the last decade. But as I sit back and I think about, since I've moved on, what are some of the recommendations that I would provide to the committee? And I have a few. I would, number one, support the existing secure IT concept that would add a formal vulnerability testing program. There's great work that's done on the testing of voting systems, but there needs to be, we need to add to that concept. The Secure IT Act was made a part of the National Defense Authorization Act. It required penetration testing, and it was the first step to simulate real-world attacks on election systems and voting systems where you tabulate votes. Unfortunately, there was no appropriation attached, and obviously that's going to slow the work, and in my mind, things need to be going quicker, not slower. The work is way too slow to stay ahead of our adversaries in this area. The window to secure elections and increase voter confidence, it's urgent on your mind, that window could be closing, and that's why this is the most rapid approach, using a vulnerability testing program to do that. So I think there should be a fully funded vulnerability testing program. That should be the highest priority, and that every voting machine needs to go through that process. The second recommendation is that we heard a lot of great information on the ESTEP program, both from the chair and from the EAC commissioners. That's a very positive program that really should be expanded. The Congress should look at expanding that. There's huge success stories with the certification of electronic poll books. That's been a concern of the Congress for a number of years, and now there's actually a functioning program with systems being reviewed that should be expanded. Third recommendation I would make is that we prioritize voter registration system security and modernization. As the committee is aware, voter registration system is really one of the core functions of the Help America Vote Act. It holds all the voter registration data of the citizens that will vote, and we want to make sure that's secure and it's accurate. So there has been bipartisan concern over the years over the security of those voter registration systems, both from the Congress and from outside groups. And even more so, there's been documented instances of vulnerabilities being identified and those vulnerabilities being exploited. Now, we know, and most of the breaches of a voter registration system that's outward facing to the internet doesn't necessarily mean results are going to be changed, but the impact on the public could be very negative. And so we need to do everything we can, I say we, the country, needs to be what we can to secure those voter registration systems. But I can tell you right now, we are not doing everything we can. We should be doing everything we can, but we are not doing everything we can. My next recommendation is that we encourage coordination between the federal partners and the EAC. That just makes a lot of sense, that there be a sharing of responsibilities on coordination that would save tax dollar money. CISA has reduced its footprint in elections, but election officials want more election focus on the products. And I think the EAC realizes that and has tried to step up to the plate and provide scenario training and coordination with other federal partners. So I think targeted funding to the EAC, which would allow additional coordination, would be helpful and to provide additional cybersecurity offerings that are election related. My last recommendation is obviously local governments and local law enforcement are the most critical aspect of physical security of local election officials. The FBI has really stepped up with trainings and significant trainings, particularly on bomb threats, for example. So how can Congress help? I would just use you one example. Targeted assistance to increase the accessibility of polling places. That was a congressional initiative, and I think the same can be done for the physical security of polling places and election offices. Thank you.